Hello and welcome to another tutorial. My name's Nicole from iPad Calligraphy. Today we're going to be making this design 1% better every day, and we'll be using a mixture of hand lettering as well as the type tool and also clipping masks. So it'll give us a good overview of some of the features of Procreate. So you can download one of the assets used in this tutorial for free just in the link below this tutorial. And if you want to follow along, the color values are below the video as well. So we'll create a new canvas by tapping the plus sign in the top right here. And I use 3000 by 3000 pixels with 300 dpi. That's a pretty standard size that I like to work with. It makes it Instagram friendly and a high enough resolution for multiple purposes you might have down the line. So I'm going to choose a pink color here to fill the background. The hexadecimal value for this color is E790A8. So I'm going to start by drawing out some guidelines with a custom brush that I use. It's from my Essentials toolkit, and this just gives me the guidelines to help keep my lettering consistent. So I'll change my color to a blue so I can see it here and just paint those guidelines onto a separate layer. So now when I select my move tool, I can enlarge that nice and big so it's a good size for the lettering. So the quote we're writing is 1% better every day. So I'm just going to start writing 1% here using my copper plate brush. And this is just a guide. I'm going to come back and refine it later. The other word that we're hand lettering is every day. So I'm just going to move down here and write that out. I'm not too worried about getting it neat and tidy at the moment. It's just getting the letters onto the page so we can see how it looks. So we've got our lettering ready to go. I'm going to add another layer, and this time we're going to use the type tool. So you'll find the add text under the add panel within the actions menu and choose add text. And if you double tap the caps lock arrow, that'll turn it all to the uppercase letters and just type out better. And just so you can see this better, I'm going to hide the lettering layers as well as the guideline here. If you tap on the layer, you can just choose Edit Text and then choose Edit Style at the top right to come into your font and style settings. I'm just going to increase the size using the size toggle, and you'll see it starts to wrap, but if you just pull the bounding box a little bit wider, that will bring all the letters onto one line. A little tip to find the center of your document is to go into your canvas and turn on the drawing guide. It's a little hard to see with the pink, so I'll just turn that layer off so you can see the grid here. And if we go into Edit Drawing Guide now and turn the grid size right up, you'll see it gives you the horizontal and vertical lines in the middle of the canvas. So those two blue lines give you the very center of the document, and now when I choose the text, I can see the middle point and I can just align it. So I'll position this in the exact center here. So I'll turn 1% layer back on and just move that into position, and then also the everyday layer and move that into position. And I like the way the D is coming over the lettering, so we'll do something with that overlapping there, and I'll just enlarge it a bit for now. If you want to move multiple layers at once, you just need to swipe the layers to the right and they'll get a blue highlight showing you that they're active. Now I can move everything at the same time, so I'll select my arrow and I can just shift that up. I also want to put this on an angle, so if I use that green node there, I can then just rotate it and everything moves together. So we're going to add a texture inside the better type text layer here, but before we do that, I just want to give it a shadow. So I'm going to create a duplicate of this layer. Just swipe to the left and choose duplicate. So I'm going to choose a darker pink to use for this shadow, and that value is A05666 for the hexadecimal value. Now with that shadow layer selected, I'm just going to move it to the right a little bit so it looks like a shadow. Now I'm going to create another layer on top and we'll import a texture. So this is from my pencils and paint pack. To do that, we go to the add panel under actions and just choose insert a file. I've got a really nice aqua that's going to go well with this design, so I'm going to bring that in. That's paint number 23. And you can download that texture for free as well, just under this video. So now I'm going to tilt that and just turn it onto an angle. And when I tap on the layer, I can choose clipping mask, and that allows me to clip the texture to the layer. The great advantage over using clipping mask to regular masking is that I can now move this and it retains the mask, so it's not distorting any of the lettering. It's not attached to the lettering. I can position it completely independently to the lettering layer. And another great feature is that you can actually bring in more textures on top. So we'll try bringing in another one. So I'm going to go into my warm colors here and just choose a really bright yellow. And I'm going to drag that under the aqua layer and it'll automatically add it into that clipping mask set. And now I can see a bit of that yellow showing through under the blue as well. So that's looking pretty cool. And now I'm going to add just one more, a nice pink. So I'll go into pink. This is 37. And I like it in that position because you can see a bit of that white as well. There's a bit of a streak going on with the white. So next I'm going to get that lettering, improve those lettering layers. So I'm just going to turn down the opacity by tapping on the N and using the opacity slider. Just turn that down so it's a reference layer now. And I'm just using my brush script textured brush, which is from my Essentials pack, but you could use any textured lettering brush. So I'm going to turn that brush up so I can see it nice and clearly. It's got a nice streaked texture to it as well, so it'll suit this paint look. And we'll just bring that P behind the better text there. So I'll turn off my guideline layer now, and I'm going to do the same with the everyday layer. So we'll create a layer on top. But I just wanted to make sure that this is on the top. So I'm just going to drag these two layers to the top. Now it thinks I want to add it to the clipping mask, but that's fine. You just tap on it and choose clipping mask to turn that off. We'll turn the opacity down on the everyday layer and then just right over the top. And I'm not sticking exactly to what was written before. I'm just going to use that as a reference and then maybe bring a bit more of a flourish into this Y and change it slightly. Great, okay, so that's looking good. Now we just need to add some shadows. So to do that, I just duplicate the text layer here. I want to use the same pink as we were using on the better shadow, the better text shadow. So if you just tap and hold, you'll see that the color swaps back to the previously used color, which is really handy. Alpha lock the layer just by 2-finger swipe to the right and then tap on the layer and choose fill layer, and you'll be filling it with that darker pink now. Then we just want to move the shadow down so you can see it underneath. And I'll do exactly the same down here for the everyday. So I'll duplicate the layer by sliding to the left and choose duplicate. Alpha lock the layer by swiping 2 fingers to the right. Tap and choose fill layer to fill with the new color. And just watch that the shadowing looks good across all the words. So then it looks like the light source is from the same angle. So just try and match that across the piece. If I zoom in here, you can see there's now gaps between the lettering layer and the shadow layer. So we're just going to fill that in. Because we want to draw on our shadow layer again, we'll need to unlock it. So 2-finger swipe to the right to release the alpha lock. And now we can paint in directly onto that layer and just fill in any gaps between the shadow and the lettering. And because the lettering layer, the white text, has a bit of a texture to it, you might find that you want to bring a bit of that shadow in as well underneath so that you can see the darker color coming through. And then when you're finished here, you can just turn the opacity down, tap on the little N on the layer thumbnail and turn the slider of the opacity down. That will just reduce the opacity of that layer. So we're going to do the same to everyday now. So I'll go back to the shadow layer, just unlock the alpha lock by 2-finger swiping to the right. And I'll fill in the shadow where any gaps are and also just underneath the white areas with the texture. And now, same as before, we'll just reduce the opacity, tap on the N, and then turn the opacity slider down to around the same value. I have it set at 53%. So now we just want to improve the shadow on our text layer. So I'm going to make sure that layer is selected and move to a brush that doesn't have any texture. So I'm just using a monoline brush here. So if I tap on the text layer and choose rasterize, that will make it into a object. So now it's a design object and no longer text, so I can draw on that layer. So now I'm just going to fill in any of the points from the lettering layer to the shadow on the angle. You can also start to look at the top areas and bring that shadow up and out a little bit earlier. It just gives it a bit more of a convincing look. So you just imagine where that light source is and fill in any of these gaps between the shadow and the lettering itself. Most of the time it's just from corner to corner, which is a good trick, so that should make it relatively easy. And then on the top of this R here, bring in that shadow under the curve a little bit more. So there's a couple of finishing touches we can do now. I'll just move back to my monoline brush and create a new layer. and just draw in some little stars around here, just using lines to create a star shape, putting them around the canvas to balance it. So now, just to finish off, we'll go create a new layer at the bottom just above your guidelines layer that's hidden, and then go back to the text tool by going to the add panel and then add text. And we'll just add a percent symbol that'll sit in the background nice and light. So type a percent here, and then we want to enlarge that and make that quite big. I can just scale that and get that into position in the back. So you go into edit text, and I'm going to choose like a bright red, but then knock that opacity right back. So that's just sitting subtly in the background. So yeah, there you have it. There's 1% better every day. We used a mix of hand lettering, our text tool, clipping masks, and a nice textured brush. So a good mix of different techniques there to create a lettering piece. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Give it the thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. If you have any requests for future tutorials, let me know. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.